right. I hit the button and we're going live. We're live, Nancy.
Hello. Hi, everybody. I'm so excited to be here tonight.
Yeah. So today the goal is for us to go over the questions that people sent us in about the Ecuador tour. So the evolution tour of the Amazon jungle in Ecuador. And Nancy is do you call yourself a tour guide or a tour arranger? Like what is the title you
I'm
go
a
by?
I'm a tour leader. I'm
Okay.
I'm like the big I'm like the connection. I'm the organization part between all of you lovely folks who want to go visit someplace like Ecuador and all of the lodges and the guides who want you to come but don't know how to necessarily like communicate. So I'm like that communication bridge.
Yeah.
So I'm a tour leader.
Yeah. And Nancy, for those who don't know, she's also an entomologist. She studies bugs.
Mhm.
Are you still doing any research right now?
Not right now. I had a paper come out in 2020 though, so hopefully
Oh,
that's reasons
nice.
enough to count.
That's cool. Was that on something in Ecuador?
It was actually. So in Quito, there's an endemic butterfly species. So you can find it only in Quito and the surrounding valleys and nowhere else.
Hmm.
And it is congregating in all of the big parks in Quito. So Parque Elegido, um, and Parque Carolina, for example. And so basically, its life history, we didn't know what its caterpillars looked like. We didn't know its life history or its development. We didn't know any of its natural predators. And yet they were all over the parks in Quito. So the
Cool.
paper was kind of defining what the caterpillars look like, talk a little bit about its life history, find some of its natural predators, see what it's feeding on and eating. And then use that as an example of how important green spaces are in cities for very interesting wildlife.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. For those who don't know, Quito is a huge city in the mountains of Ecuador. Really high. What's the elevation of Quito? Do you remember?
Depending where you are in Quito, so anywhere between 7 and 10,000 feet.
Yeah. So that's where, when you first fly in, you fly into the Quito airport, which is actually about an hour away from the city itself. And
Mm-hmm.
then you take well, when I go, I take a taxi in, but I guess we'll probably have a bus
We'll
waiting
have a
for you,
bus.
right?
Yes,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
will.
We'll have a bus to bring you in to your hotel. And so that first night would be in Quito. And then, yeah, it's a huge city. I've only been, well, Los Angeles and Sao Paulo are the only cities I've been to that are larger. And
Mhm.
uh, it's a really cool place. You get just these beautiful mountains all around. They're actually volcanoes, and we will be hiking to the. We're gonna go to the top of one of those, right?
I mean, the top is a stretch. We will definitely be on it.
Yeah,
I've never actually made it to the top. Many people have. I have not personally.
yeah, yeah. It is. It's rough hiking up there because there's no oxygen because you're so high.
Right. It drops you off at 14,000 feet or right around
Yeah,
4,000 meters.
yeah. Um. So, yes, we are here to answer your questions today, and if you have any extra questions, let us know. But first, we're going to start off, and you can say in the comments there. We've got Saib Driver in the comments. Oh,
Hmm.
Gail from Utah. All right,
Oh,
hello.
hi, Gail. Hi.
Good to have you in here. If you have any extra questions, let us know. But I'm going to start off by going over the questions that were sent to us on email. So the first one: is there some sort of queue of people wanting to go? How will you choose who goes? When will we know that?
Okay. Yes. So once we have the itinerary completely lined up, so I have a general idea of what's going to happen, but um, Ecuador, I love Ecuador for many reasons, but I have not gotten the 2022, 2023 prices for things yet. So that's what I'm waiting on. That's why the price is kind of still where it is right now. So as soon as I have all of that and then have full pricing and the full itinerary, probably right around March or April, John and I will talk
Mm-hmm.
about that. We will have a booking tab on the website and it's first come, first serve.
Nice.
So that's how we're going to be doing it. We're looking to bring a maximum of 15 people.
Mm-hmm.
I think 15 is a really good number of people to bring just because transportation obviously, but also it's like a small group size. So you'll have a lot of chances to talk to me and John about, John about general evolution, me about Ecuador and insects. You'll have a lot of time with our guides. We will have, besides me, we will also have 1 or 2 bilingual guides depending on how many people we have. And so that'll give you ample time to talk about everything. It'll give us smaller group sizes for when we do the different walks, right? Usually what happens if you have a ton of people in a group, person A sees the monkeys and person Z does not, right? Because they have left by then. So with the smaller group sizes, we can go and everyone has a chance to see the wildlife.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And by being signed up for the email, we will let you know ahead of time, like when the sign up is going to be ready. So you'll know, you'll have like first dibs on getting there. We've got about 50 people in the email list, but usually, only a fraction will end up wanting to actually go by the end. And if we do have just tons of people wanting to go, I don't know, maybe we could do 2 tours. we can definitely figure something out, because I mean, I definitely want to spend more time than just 1 week down there. And I just so everyone knows, I am also a guest on this tour, but I also, I help out with stuff extra. But this is I love this. I've been doing this. We've gone 3 times, right, Nancy, together? So the first time I was randomly visiting and then remembered that you lived there, right?
Yes.
Like 2 days ahead of time.
2 days ahead of time.
Yeah.
And you're like, I have 2 days in Ecuador. What should I do? I was like, that is not a lot of time.
Yeah. And by the way, sorry, my video is freezing. That's my computer's being silly, but that's okay. And then, so the second time I went there, it was to prep for us eventually doing a tour together. And then we did a tour, and we're going to do them every year. And as soon as I got home, that was when COVID hit.
That was January 2020.
Yep.
Yeah, 2 months later, the pandemic hit. So here we are.
Yeah. So I've been itching to go, so desperate to get back down there. And it is just such a beautiful place. And the last tour that we did the coast side. We didn't do the Amazon. This time we're going to do the Amazon. So it's going to be brand new for me. But yeah, like I said, if we get enough people, maybe we'll just do 2 tours. And maybe we could talk about having one of those be at the coast, one of those being in Amazon. But I don't know. But we'll get there when it comes. So if you really want to sign up, really want to make sure that you go, definitely pay attention to your emails and try and get there as soon as possible to sign up. If we're getting a lot of people, if we can easily fill up 2 tours, then we'll find a way to plan 2 tours.
Yes, definitely.
Nancy and I have. Did we finalize a date yet for this?
You suggested December 28th. Everyone fly in. So let me pull up my calendar. So the tour would officially start December 29th of 2022.
Yeah. My goal with that, flying in on the 29th or 28th, is that that's enough time after Christmas for people who are hanging out with family to be able to get on a plane. And it gets us there before the chaos of New Year's Eve. So, yeah. And lets us enjoy New Year's together. So, because I think that's going to be really cool. It's going to be really fun.
Yeah. So Ecuador does like shut down for the 31st and the 1st. They are national holidays. And oh, do we love our holidays. So nothing is open. Ecuador does have some really fun traditions. So I will definitely work with the lodge to make sure we can do some of them there. One of my favorites. So I love New Year's in Ecuador. So there's this idea that the old year is like, or can be represented by basically an effigy. They're called años viejos, which is Spanish for old years. And traditionally, you would make one out of your old clothes and you would stuff it with flammable stuff. But over time, it has become kind of a little bit more intense than that. So people will make años viejos out of paper mache that represent a lot of different political figures or pop culture things. Like I bought a Charmander from Pokemon 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And so these are made out of paper mache. You'd fill it with flammable material and you light it on fire as a way to be like, goodbye, old year. So I tried my best to burn coronavirus in 2021, but that did not work. So,
Yeah. Your wishes don't always come true, huh? Well,
right.
well, uh, maybe this will be the last big spike, and then we're done. Hopefully.
Hopefully.
And we'll talk about that here in a minute. So that I think we've covered that first question. So it's first come, first serve. If we get
Mm-hmm.
if we get a lot of people, then we'll do two instead of one.
Yes.
Um,
And we're looking currently our date. So everyone would come in December 28th, 2022. And December 29th is when we would start heading into the jungle.
okay.
And then the tour would be over the 4th or the 5th of January 2023.
All right. Yeah. Second question: how safe is it in Ecuador, both in terms of crime and nature in places that we would be visiting?
Yeah. So Quito is like any other big city, right? You want to be a little bit smart about it. You shouldn't go to the ATM and then like flash all your $100 bills that you just got out of
Right.
it. So you definitely want to be a little bit careful of that. Pay attention to all of your belongings. You will all be with me with a private bus the whole time and also with guides in the Amazon. So we will obviously keep you very safe.
Yeah.
But just note that, if you're walking around, we might have the opportunity to go to the market. So that's one of the things that I'm working on with John right now is like, what city stuff do we want to do our last day in Quito? So if we decide that going to the market is something like, that's just something when you're in the market, like
Mm-hmm.
it's possible to be pickpocketed, right? So make sure that your wallet is in front of you in your front pockets
Yeah.
if you are a guy, for example, and just kind of just be like street smart about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I am a single woman and I feel safer walking down the streets of Quito than I did walking through the streets of like Hartford, Connecticut, for sure. That's one of the things that I really like about it here is that I feel like I can just grab a taxi. I can just walk up the street. I can go live my daily life and
Yeah.
not be afraid.
Yeah. I would say like I feel like Quito is around I feel about the same as I do in LA.
Yeah, I compare it to New York, right?
Yeah. The only difference for me though, like, is pickpocketing. People are really good at pickpocketing in Ecuador. And a lot
Yeah.
of times kids will come up and you think they're just trying to like play with you or like hang out with you, but they're actually trying to steal stuff off of you. So that was the one difference that I noticed in Ecuador. My little brother got his phone stolen from his front pocket without him noticing. So that was skill. And that was some kids that came and did that. And like someone bumped into him in line and he did not notice until like 20 minutes later.
But
That was
yeah,
pretty
you
funny.
were also by yourselves at that point and also
Yeah.
in not a very touristy area either. Like
Yeah.
there were
Yeah. That's another thing to
there were a
point
lot
out
of
is
circumstances.
there is a very tourism is where money comes into Ecuador.
Mm-hmm.
So it's where people are very against messing with tourists. Like tourism is the bread and butter of that country. Well, that and then they do a lot
Oil.
of natural resources, oil. Yeah.
Yeah, oil's the other one.
So the people do have a positive attitude. I mean, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
like in any country, there's going to be someone who just hates all the stupid tourists, but they don't mess with you, right? I
Yeah.
mean, people,
And most people I found are like really happy, and all the
yeah,
people that I work with as well are just really excited to share the country. I think that's one of the things that I really like about Ecuador too, is that so many people here are very prideful of their country. They're so
hmm,
prideful of how beautiful Ecuador is, all like the natural things we have, all the amazing animals, the volcanoes, like all of that stuff. They're just very, very prideful of it and very excited to share it
yeah,
with people. Um, so
yeah, and yeah, people want to get to know you and like know your
mhm.
story and show you some cool thing that they know, and they want to explain to you how this plant, can be used for medicine and so on. it was amazing. I mean, I had a bus driver who wanted to tell me all about medicinal plants there. It was really cool. So,
So for the other half of that question, what about the wildlife?
yeah, yeah.
So we are going to be in the Amazon. If you look at the CDC recommendations, they will give you a long list of possible things that are there. However, in my experience, like there hasn't been a reported case of malaria in over 10 years.
Hmm.
Zika is not here. The mosquitoes are kind of annoying, but really not that bad. And we will actually be there during the dry season. So
Hmm.
January is the Amazon summer. So it'll be drier than normal. So I don't expect the mosquitoes to be particularly bad either.
Hmm.
There are, of course, snakes. It is the jungle. Most, like 99% of the snakes that we're going to see are not going to be venomous. There's only a couple venomous snakes, and I've only seen them. I lived in the cloud forest for 2 full years, and I've only seen the most venomous snake, and the most commonly seen one is the Echis or the Fleur de Lance. And I've seen it like a handful of times, maybe five. They're surprisingly skittish, and that's why when we go walking, the local guide is first, the bilingual guide is second, and then either John or I will be third, and then one of us will be last. So
Hmm.
usually by the time the first person gets to the snake is scared and goes away. So if you do even see a snake, that's really lucky.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I would be excited if we see snakes.
And the guides are really good at spotting them too. I mean, it turns out
Definitely.
humans in general are good at spotting snakes, but we have an instinct to spot them. But the guides are super good at it. And you will be wearing. Are they going to do? Do they do rubber boots there too?
They do. Yes. So I will be
Yeah.
asking for everyone's shoe size. The important thing to note is that Ecuadorians are somewhat smaller than the
Yeah.
typical American. So we don't have boot sizes that go up to size like 12 or 13. If I
Hmm.
do, I will be sending everyone out who's going a form asking like your dietary restrictions, shoe size, all that kind of stuff. So if I do see that your shoe size is larger than I know that we can physically get boots here in Ecuador, I will ask that you bring your own, but for everyone else, they're included in the lodge.
Cool. Cool. Um, let's see. The Oh yeah, well, yeah, just it's not a walk in the park, but it's you're going to be taken care of. So, I
Mhm.
mean, this is it is going to be an adventure. So, that's we want people to come who are excited about, you know, who would get excited if they saw a snake, right?
Yes.
And but yeah, there are other little things too. Like if you trip, you don't want to just grab onto any tree. Maybe grab the arm of someone next to you instead of
Yeah,
a
take them down
tree
with you.
because the some of the trees are full of spikes or they'll have
Hmm.
ants in them that can bite you. So stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Again, usually the guide who's first will point out the ones that you shouldn't touch. When we get to the lodge first, we will have like a short safety
Hmm.
presentation. It is important to note that some of the trees are spiky. There are ants and caterpillars on some of them. So if you do need to like balance yourself, it's always important to look at said tree first
Yeah, yeah,
and then balance yourself. The trails for the lodge that we're going to be at are all really well maintained and really well kept. And the Amazon, what's nice about it is that it's very flat. Most of Ecuador is not flat. Even the
yeah,
coast isn't
no,
flat.
no.
The Amazon is very flat, so there aren't a lot of hills or anything to go up.
That's cool.
The hardest thing is the mud, but again, we are going to be there during the dry season, so it shouldn't be that muddy.
Yeah. Uh, the other thing to note is that Nancy and I walk slow because we're obsessed with finding bugs and stuff. So you're not going to be running through the jungle. So your
No.
chances of accidentally stepping on a snake or falling over are pretty low in the
We are
jungle.
not fast.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is insane. If you've never been to a tropical rainforest before or just any place tropical, it, it will blow your mind how you walk out the door of your hotel room and there are so many interesting things between your door and the gate to get out of the property. So many weird caterpillars and birds, and it's just you can't do anything if you're too curious. And but
Yeah, the last time that I stayed at this lodge, I was with my dad, and he literally walked out of his cabin and was like, there's a pack of squirrel monkeys in the tree above my cabin.
yeah, yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, on the coastal side where I've been, there weren't a lot of mammals, so I'm really excited to go to the Amazon side.
Yeah.
I mean the bugs and everything on the coast were amazing, and there were some really cool birds. We did have howler monkeys, but other than that, there weren't very many mammals. So I'm very excited. Okay, so will we need any kind of special equipment? What kind? Some list of necessary stuff would be nice.
So on the website, you can find a packing list. That packing list has gotten me and my clients through just about everything. The only special equipment that I can think of is that, again, if you have a large shoe size, that you may need to bring your own boots. Rubber boots are highly, highly recommended walking through the jungle, not only because of mud, but also because of aforementioned snakes that we just talked about. And then like sometimes there's just like debris and stuff on the ground, and they're just the protective footwear that everybody wears. Mm-hmm. Some people who have like really high arches in their feet find the boots uncomfortable. So some people choose to bring like the gel insoles, and that tends to help a lot, but that's the only like special equipment. Otherwise, you're just going to need something to take pictures with. You're going to want a flashlight or a headlamp, but nothing out of the ordinary.
Yeah. And as far as photos go, whatever sort of like video equipment, photo equipment, whatever you want to do. I mean, as long as it's not huge, keep it fairly well. I mean, if you have big stuff, I guess.
I mean, I led a photography workshop, and we brought heavy duty photography equipment on the canoe for 3 hours up the river. Like we had a box that had lasers in it that took pictures of insects as they flew. We had focus stacking rails. We brought all that stuff. Bring whatever you want. We'll get it there.
All right. Yeah. But what I was going to say is what we'll do at the end is we'll make on Google Drive, we'll do a folder where everyone can share whatever they want with the whole group. So we can, it kind of sucks if you're taking pictures all the time. So we can kind of spread that chore out amongst us all and get really cool stuff. So I'll have my video camera with me, and I'll probably just take a lot of pictures on my phone, honestly. But yeah, I'm excited. Okay. So, do you welcome people coming from anywhere in the world? I would be coming from Poland.
Yeah, anywhere. If you want to get on a plane and you want to come here, we will gladly accept you. There are some legal restrictions depending on where you're coming from. Most of the world, you can enter Ecuador on just a tourist visa, and you don't need any special paperwork for that. You just get on the plane and you're granted 90 days here.
If you're coming as long as you have all you need is your passport.
All you need is your passport, unless you're coming from countries, I think Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, and some countries in Africa, like I think Nigeria, you need a visa for. But if that applies to you, then feel free to email me. I'm the one who's been sending out all the emails so far. Feel free to email me, and I can pull up the official list and the paperwork that you would need.
Cool. Awesome. Then how long... This is the final question that we had sent in. How long do you expect to stay at each location specifically? Do you expect to change lodging daily?
No, we will not be changing lodging daily. So right now what's up in the air is we're thinking about taking a plane from Quito to Lago Agrio or Quito to Coca. So the lodge that we're going to is in the Cuyabeno Reserve, which is in the northeast section of Ecuador, close to the Colombian border. Before the pandemic, there was an airport there, which was very convenient, but the pandemic has closed it. Who knows what's going to happen in the next year? And then before, there was a road that went from Quito to Lago Agrio, but that road is currently closed. due to reasons. So the next thing is we will either be taking a bus that's an 8-hour bus trip, which is a little bit long. So this is another reason why we're sitting right around the $2,000 mark for the pricing, is because I'm contacting the lodge to see if it's possible to fly us to Coca, which is the other Amazon town where the flights go into, that is currently running flights right now, to get flights to Coca, and then they would pick us up from Coca. So that development has happened in the last month. And of course it was Christmas and all the holidays and stuff. So that's where we are on that. So the idea is, if we're taking the bus down, we will stop at the Cloud Forest Lodge for a few hours and then be in the Amazon for the rest of the time. So 5 full days with 1 day in Quito. If we're flying, then you guys will fly into Quito. The next day, we're on a plane in the morning and we'll be in the Amazon that same day, which in some ways is really good because it cuts down a whole day of travel. And then we'll fly back. And then the last 2 days, we will spend 1 full day in the Cloud Forest and 1 full day in Quito. Nice. So essentially, Cloud Forest half a day or a full day, and then the Amazon the rest of the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And both of those options sound cool to me. I mean, it does. Being on a bus right after flying in would be less ideal, I suppose. But I mean, we'll all be friends. We'll have lots to talk about. And there's, I mean, the cool thing too about a bus trip is you get to see everything out the windows. And
so that was actually really fun when I did it the last time, because you come out of Quito, which is about at 8,000 feet where most of the hotels are. And then you take the pass that goes up past one of the volcanoes, which is Antesana, and that reaches 13,000 feet. So there's ice up there, and sometimes it snows. And then at that point, everyone on the bus looks at me and is like, we are going to the Amazon, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, in 6 hours, you're going to be in the Amazon. There's monkeys. So I think that's definitely like a unique experience. The bus ride is long, but it is definitely very beautiful, and you definitely see some scenery that you wouldn't be able to otherwise.
Yeah. Oh, there's one more question that was not in here was about vegetarian diets.
Yeah. So we will have, like, all the lodges are equipped to be vegetarian friendly. They're also vegan friendly, although your vegan options may be slightly limited. Ecuador isn't becoming vegetarian and vegan friendly, but it's not really integrated into the culture yet. So we're going to be going to all the tourism places that do offer those things. If we have a significant number of vegetarians and vegans, like, a third to half of the group, I can hire a private chef to go with us to make sure that everyone is fed exactly what they want and that they're happy.
Sweet.
No one goes hungry on Nancy's jungle tours.
And that chef, well, depending on her availability, is Ronnie, who cooked for us last time, and she's awesome.
Yeah, she's amazing. She was a chef for 13 years and has basically recreated a lot of meat dishes, but using vegan and vegetarian items. She made like epic cornbread, like vegan cornbread, and she's made like vegan pulled pork out of jackfruit. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that was really good.
Right.
We got a new question here. Will you make Quito hotel accommodations, or will we each need to book a room?
Nope. Once you get into the country, so you're responsible for your flight in and your flight out. Everything in the middle, I have covered. All your food, all of your lodging, all your meals, all your transportation. Whether we decide to do the bus or the plane, that will be covered. So entrance fees, credit card fees, transfer fees, guiding fees, entrance, activity fees, tipping, all of that stuff is included. The only things that aren't included, I've even got the tips now. I find that it's a lot easier because then, like, people don't feel awkward about it, and you don't have to worry about carrying enough cash, all that stuff. I've got it completely covered. The only thing that you would be responsible for is traveler's insurance, which is recommended, especially in the times we are now, where sometimes flights get canceled or delayed or whatever. I highly recommend travel insurance for that stuff. So traveler's insurance is not included. Any snacks. So I have you for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You're going to get full meals. I've never had anyone complain that they were hungry on my tours. John can attest to that.
Yeah. I've never been hungry. No.
However, if we stop at a gas station or something like that, you want to get a snack, like snacks apart from the meal times are on you. Any souvenirs or alcoholic beverages that you want are also on your tab, but all of the main trips. So basically, if you do not want to spend a penny, you don't want to buy anything, you don't want to have any alcoholic beverages, you don't want to do laundry, any of that stuff, then you can, once the trip is paid for, you do not have to spend a single penny once you get here.
Yeah. And you won't feel bad about it either. Like you'll be well taken care of. You'll have everything you need. So,
yes.
Unless you're an alcoholic, in which case you.
I mean, we'll get you beer to the Amazon.
Okay, so that covers everyone's questions. If anyone's got any more questions,
I think we had COVID questions.
Yeah,
I think we had COVID questions.
Yeah, that is. Let's see. Yeah, let's dive into the COVID situation because
into the COVID situation.
My hope is that everything will be over by then, but of course, there's no guarantee. So
okay, so here's how it works from my end. I just had a million thoughts happen at the same time. If the country shuts down, what we can do is any amount that you have paid would be transferred to the next year. So if the country shuts down, they're not letting flights in or out, any of that stuff, kind of like March 2020 vibes. The standard procedure is just we can hold your money, and then when we run the trip again, you'll be paid for and it'll be fine and you don't have to pay any extra. And that's just that. If you do want your money to be returned, I do have a cancellation policy, which is also on the website. So you will get as much as your money back as I can possibly give you. So I have my cut, which is like my tourism fee. You would get 100% of that back. The lodges have cancellation fees depending on how early out you've canceled. And then I will get that percentage and also give that to you. The only thing that I won't be able to get you is the transfer fees from Ecuador, or from the United States to Ecuador. Okay. So you should be getting most of your money back if you cancel within a month. I had a lot of cancellations during March 2020, and I was able to get everyone's money back for who booked with me and then had to cancel due to COVID. So I do have a pretty good track record, everyone's money back, but you can see the full cancellation policy on the website. So you know what you're getting into. Yeah. That being said, Ecuador has done, in my opinion, very well during the pandemic. So right now, we do have a vaccine mandate. To be able to come into Ecuador, you need to show proof of full vaccination and have a negative PCR test to even get on the plane to get to Ecuador. Mm-hmm. Ecuador has a vaccine mandate. So everyone who's 5 years of age and older must be vaccinated. And to get into any public space, you have to show your vaccine card. Grocery store, supermarkets, national parks, markets, eco lodges, restaurants. Like if you are out in the movie theater, if you're out in public, you have to show your vaccination card. Right now,
I have like a Canadian vaccination card, so
it works.
Do they need to translate that? Because it's on my phone.
That's okay. I show them on my phone. They will ask for your passport or your ID with it.
Okay.
So that's just it. You need to show them, and I mean all the names of the vaccines are the same, so there's not much to translate. And
are they going to mandate boosters too, or is 2 shots fully vaccinated?
2 shots is where we are right now. Okay. Most of us aren't even up for our boosters yet. So I got my second vaccine in August, so I'm up for my booster at the end of this month. Okay. So we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah.
So the current vaccination rates for Ecuador, 70% of the country is vaccinated, 90% of Quito is vaccinated, and anyone who's working in tourism with us, anyone who we're going to be in contact with, bus drivers, guides, community members, local guides, bird guides, me, restaurant staff, all of us, we are all vaccinated. The tourism industry was actually when Ecuador was rolling out the vaccines, tour guides and tourism agents and all of that actually had our own special section that we were able to get vaccinated ahead of the general public. So all of us who you're going to be interacting with will be vaccinated. We do have a mask mandate as well. So in addition to having your vaccine, you also must wear a mask in all public spaces, including if it is outside. When we go to the lodge, there'll be hopefully 15 of us, which means that we'll basically book out the whole place. So it'll just be us. I'm assuming that our mask mandates will be, we probably won't have to wear masks at the actual eco lodge outside, especially if we're the only group. But just know that like in Quito, in restaurants, when you're in the market, any of those areas, it will be required for you to wear a mask. Your temperature will be taken as well when you enter any of the eco lodges, any of the restaurants, any of the malls. You will have your temperature taken. And if you refuse to wear a mask, or you refuse to show your vaccination card, or you refuse to go through any of their protocols, you can be refused entry at your cost. So
I just whenever I'm traveling, I just follow their rules. You know, I'm a guest in their country. I'll do. It makes no sense.
Yeah, I've been really, really, really pleased with Ecuador. Like in the beginning, obviously all of our hospital beds filled up, but even the Omicron variant that's going through, only half of our hospital beds are occupied right now. And it's just because like everyone's vaccinated. And even though like we have a lot of people who are testing positive for the new variant, they like no one is getting sick enough to need to really go to the hospital. So that's been really, really great. I've actually been really excited and really proud of how well Ecuador has been doing.
Mm-hmm. And you're about to get the virus because you're
yeah. Well, I don't know. I've held out strong for 3 days, so maybe I won't.
She was just hanging out with people that had it, so we'll see. Okay, so masks. Mm-hmm. Everybody bring masks. I mean, this could change. It's possible.
Exactly. So also on the website, you'll see in the packing and info section, there is a whole section about COVID, and I have been updating it as new mandates have gone out. So I just updated it the other day, and it is current as of January 2022.
Cool. Let's see. Oh, this is the question that I had. Like, how fit do we need to be to keep up with the tour?
So, as John was mentioning, we are not very fast. You should be able to walk well. I was talking to John a little bit about this beforehand. Unfortunately, Ecuador is not very wheelchair accessible. Most of the buildings, especially in the historic district, were built in the 1500s. So there are stairs. So if you are bound to a wheelchair 24/7, this may not be the trip for you. But on all the other accounts, you don't have to be particularly fit. My 65-year-old father, who's quote in his words, not mine, is like not quite as fit as he would like to be, did all the activities when I took him to the Amazon. The terrain isn't that bad. It's pretty flat. Again, we're going to be in the dry season, so there won't be a lot of mud. So, and we're not fast. We're not like running through the jungle. We are slowly sauntering along, talking about the plants, and only about half of the activities are land-based anyway. The other half, you sit in a canoe and we putter around the different habitats. That's one of the reasons why I really like Cuyabeno, or in that area in general. There's a lot of different micro habitats within the reserve. So we will go to those different micro habitats. There is an opportunity to go paddle boarding. But if you don't want to go paddleboarding, you can do what I do and sit on the paddleboard and float down to
Yeah.
the lodge, which is the amount of energy I spend paddleboarding. Or the canoe is with us the whole time. So you can just like sit in the canoe and like hang out with the guides or whoever else
And
is
in the
sitting there.
canoe, are we going to be rowing ourselves?
No, it has a motor, and the one that doesn't have the motor, we pay some local strong kid to paddle it for us. Thanks,
Nice.
friend.
Nice.
Sometimes we do take the paddle canoe just because you can be a little bit quieter. It's a little bit smaller. You can
Yeah.
get into smaller areas. If and also you don't have to do any of the activities if you don't want to. If you're just completely content sitting and sipping your coffee in the hammock and watching the wildlife, that's totally chill and you're going to see a lot. I've seen dolphins. So on the lodge where we're going to be staying, there's like a little balcony that's or a dock that sits over the water, and I've seen dolphins just swimming past that.
Wow.
So you could just sit there and see stuff.
Yeah, that's
And
the
then
thing I hope that I see. I have never seen a river dolphin.
I've
That's
been really lucky, and every time I've gone, I've seen them. So
mhm.
fingers crossed.
Yeah.
um,
You've got river dolphins
and
and you've got those giant otters.
giant otters. We have, if we're lucky, tapirs,
Oh, really?
sloths. Yeah, there's 10 species of monkey in the Cuyahoga Reserve, caimans, anacondas. Those are like the big ones, toucans
Yeah.
that people go to see. Those are the big ones that people are usually most interested
Mhm.
in. And then in addition to, of course, all the walking, John and I will be giving presentations on insects, ecology, evolution, biology. So we're still determining exactly what themes we want to focus on, but I think
Mhm.
mimicry is one of them because that ties in really well to evolution. Chemical defenses, I think we're thinking about as another one.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess even if you're I mean, if you're not, 25 anymore, fit, then
I'm not
well,
25 anymore, that's for sure.
we will still have I mean, if you need to sit out one day cuz you're a little sore. I mean, I really don't think that we'll be that sore though because again, we do walk pretty slow cuz we're just trying to find bugs and stuff. Um and the I mean, the last tour that I did on the coast, that is pretty. You got to be pretty
Mm-hmm.
strong to do the coastal tour because we do a lot of mountain hiking or
Mm-hmm.
hillside hiking, I suppose you'd call it.
Yeah,
But
this is definitely the intro to the to the
yeah,
jungle.
yeah. Well, it would be fun to do a really good off road hike one time, but yeah. So that's good. That's good. We can be. There's no hospital in the jungle, right?
Yes, right. So that when you guys come, whoever decides to come, there will be a waiver that I will have you sign saying that you are doing adventure tourism. And that is one of the things that is on the waiver. There is no hospital at the lodge. There is a clinic in the nearest community, but the nearest hospital is 3 hours away by motorized canoe.
Yeah.
So I will be hiring a doctor to go with us. So if you aren't feeling well or I don't know, anything happens, we will have a doctor on site to help to help. I
That's awesome.
am also first aid certified.
Hmm.
And like depending on what has happened or what you need, we can then take it from there, whether we need to get you to the closest clinic, whether we need to get you to Lago Agrio, or whether we need to get you to uh, Quito or back to your home country.
Yeah.
But we will
Yeah.
cross that bridge to get there.
Right.
I've not had any problems thus far. I will also, on that form for people who will be coming, there will be a short section about medical history. Basically, I'm looking to see if there's any heart disease or lung issues, just because Quito is at 9,000 feet. And if we do go up to the Teleférico, which is the cable car on the volcano Pichincha, which drops you out off at 14,000 feet or 4,000 meters, that is really, really high. And so it's generally recommended that if you have breathing problems or heart problems, that isn't a activity that you should participate in. But if that happens, I will do my best to find something else that is equally as fun and amazing for you to do. And we'll get you
Nice.
taken care of.
Nice. Let's see if we have any more questions. No. Okay. The other thing to talk about here. We're going to be visiting the cloud forest. So we got the volcano, the cloud forest,
Yes.
and the Amazon.
Yes.
I've only been to the cloud forest on the coastal side. Like,
On the western side.
how different are the two?
So, okay, so John, you visited the lower cloud forest on the western side.
Okay.
So I think you'll find that this one that we'll be going, which is Wango Lodge on the eastern side, is about 8,000 feet, will be actually significantly different. The bird species that you find there are very different. We have the chance of seeing the sword-billed hummingbird, which is absolutely amazing. That's kind of what that lodge is famous for. But the higher elevation, it's a little bit chillier. And because by that point, like the clouds have been pushed so high up the mountain. So for those of you that you don't know, that is the main difference between the cloud forest and the lowland forest. So the Amazon is considered the lowland forest, the coastal side is considered lowland rainforest as well. Is that is the amount of ambient humidity, just because the clouds are coming in, which means that you're going to see a lot more epiphytes all over the trees that'll be most likely misty.
Yeah.
And then because you've been on the western side, you'll see all new plants, animals, birds, and insects. So it should be a new experience for you.
Nice.
That's actually one of the reasons why I love Ecuador so much and the cloud forest so much, is because you have these different elevations on all of these different mountains, that there's all these little different microclimates, and they're called what are considered biological islands. You see you see speciation events happen very often, which is why it's one of the most biodiverse regions in the world, even though Ecuador is only the size of like Colorado.
Yeah.
To put it into perspective, Ecuador has about 3,300 species of butterflies and 1,400 species of birds. And there's only about 10,000 birds worldwide. So, yeah. Again, also Ecuador has about 4,000 out of 10,000 orchid species. We have 20% of the biodiversity of known orchids in Ecuador.
Dang. Yeah.
Yeah. And the cloud forest is actually where you find a lot of that orchid biodiversity.
Yeah. Well, the reason I was asking about the cloud forest is because I have, in various videos, I've shown stuff from Ecuador. The species will be different in the forest that we're going to. So,
yes.
If you were like super excited to see one specific hummingbird that you saw in one of my videos, it'll probably be a different species that we see there. But we will also see hummingbirds. So.
We will definitely see hummingbirds. The cloud forest is actually the easiest and best place to see hummingbirds. So if you're interested in hummingbirds, we'll have that day in the cloud forest, and you can just sit by the feeders and watch them all.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. I think that's it. That's all the questions that I had. That's all the questions people had sent in.
There was one I thought I saw about the lodge and Cuiabano, the reserve in general. So I'll just talk a little bit about that for people who are interested. Cuiabano. There's two main national parks in Ecuador on the Amazon side. The first is the Yasuni, which is the most well-known and heard of. And that is the largest national park in Ecuador. And then to the north is Cuiabano, which is where we're going to be. And I like working there because I really like the lodge that I've found up there. And also you have the best chance of seeing the pink river dolphins in Cuiabano, which I think is worth it in of itself. Cuiabano is about 5,900 kilometers of protected forest. Much of it is still primary Amazon rainforest. The lodge that we're going to is Huayta Lodge. In Cuiabano, if you look at a map of Cuiabano, there's kind of like this centralized area where all these lodges are. And then Huayta Lodge is in the opposite direction, up further north a little bit. And I like that because we won't be running into other boats. We kind of like have our little section of the rainforest to ourselves. And it is like a little bit more intimate, I guess.
Hmm.
And I really like the lodge as well. It's a true community project, and that to me is really important. There's a lot of lodges that are like, we work with the local people, but they don't work as much with the local people as
Yeah.
as they might say. But they do a lot to train their staff. So, for example, they have done several workshops. I've actually taught one of them about insects to the community members. They bring in English speaking programs to help the community members learn English. And they are preparing the local youth to work in tourism, and are also getting computers and printers and all that stuff into their communities, because the reality of it is that many kids who grew up in these small communities will later go to Quito or a bigger city to find employment. So it's really important for them to get computers and stuff, so those kids have the computer skills, so that way they're competitive in the market. So they do a lot, not just for conservation, but also working with the local community. And so when we go, we will have not only a bilingual guide who will be with us, but we will also have a local community member. And to be honest, they're much better at spotting all of the things than the rest of us are.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and the fact that they do work so closely and they do put so much effort into training and taking care of their employees is something that is really important to me.
Mm. Yeah, that's cool. The What about conservation there? So does we're going into a preserved area of the
Mm-hmm.
rainforest, but a lot of the
Yes.
rainforest is not preserved, right? Isn't that where mining is happening and so on?
Oh, well, actually, so the Amazon is actually pretty well federally preserved, which is awesome. The people who and the lodges there that are offering tourism services have specific permits and are registered with the government to have tourism activities. So, for example, one of the activities we can do is go fishing in the Amazon River, and we are allowed to do that because we are tourists who they're assuming can't catch anything. And to be honest, in my experience, we can't. So
Yeah.
they're like,
Yeah.
but so there's no like commercial fishing allowed, but they do allow like tourists to grab their like little stick and fish stuff. Um, on the western side is where a lot of those conservation efforts are privatized, which is what John has most experience with. The
Hmm.
western side of Ecuador has been, in my opinion, largely forgotten
Yeah.
because it's not the Amazon. The Amazon has all of the press and all
Yeah.
of the fame, but there's beautiful rainforest on the western side, and it's actually probably equally, if not more, biodiverse, just not as well studied because it's not the Amazon. But the northwest section of Ecuador, which includes the coastal jungle forests and also the western cloud forests, is part of the Choco Andean corridor, which is a really important corridor for migration. We have species from Ecuador that migrate to the United States in the summer. So, like the summer tanager is one of them. And so that corridor is really important for migration. It's just really important because it covers a whole bunch of different very diverse habitats. And so you get a lot of biodiversity in there as well. But because it's not the Amazon, it's not as well known. And so government doesn't feel as much need to protect it. So there's some mining problems and possibilities there. So most of the
Yeah.
conservation on the western side is all private.
Yeah. So that I mean, one of the things to note and to point out with this is the reason that things are preserved is because there's uh there's tourism. I mean,
Yeah, people,
so
yeah, exactly.
it is important. I mean, it's important that I'm not saying that everyone has to go be a tourist, but I mean it's an important way to support conservation is by doing this type of
Mm-hmm.
tourism. Of course, there's always the well, I also got to fly there. So, you know, it's kind of a I don't know if it washes out even, but it's
I'd say it washes out more
definitely
than even, to be honest. Like the planes would be coming here anyway, but if there weren't tourists on those planes, then many of these areas wouldn't be protected.
yeah,
I think
yeah,
I think like sustainable ecotourism is one of the best ways to work in conservation, or, put your dollar into a place that is actually actively working towards conservation. So for example, the small town of Mindo, which John has been to, originally they did logging there and it was completely
Mm-hmm.
deforested just 50 years ago. But then people started to realize how important the forest was, and the town has banded together to buy up all of the land. And now is one of the really important tourist destinations. And it's completely grown back in 30 years.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty awesome.
So yeah, it's really awesome. Um, Even like the Amazon like wouldn't be federally protected if there wasn't a financial gain to it. And that's
Yeah,
kind of like that's just the reality of the situation. I think so much in the States we're like, oh, we're gonna do conservation, we're just gonna put like a little fence around this area. But especially in places like Ecuador, a lot of people look at the land that isn't cultivated in some way, so just forest, as wasted land and wasted money, because you could log it and sell the timber. You could then, after you log it, you can turn it into cattle pasture, or you could farm on it. Chocolate and coffee come from Ecuador,
mm-hmm.
as well as a lot of bananas. And if you're not doing that, you could mine it. So a lot of people look at forest as like empty space, basically an
Yeah,
empty
yeah,
space that creeps into their cattle pastures and is difficult to get rid of.
yeah,
So tourism is actively is actively helping preserve some of these really beautiful areas.
yeah, yeah. Gail asked one more question.
Yeah.
Uh, how much of a problem is it for someone who doesn't speak conversational Spanish?
If you were to
Um,
show up on your own, it might be a struggle,
yeah,
but you're going to be with me. I'm fluent in Spanish. I mean, is anyone really fluent? But I can definitely get along. I taught an
she has
entire
an
insect
accent
work.
that the bus drivers make fun of her for.
Yeah, basically. But I
Yeah.
did teach an entire insect workshop in Spanish for a week. So I can get along just fine. So I'm going to be with
Yeah.
you. And we'll have the bilingual guides as well with us. So it's totally okay if you don't speak Spanish. And anytime that you need something translated or you want to talk to someone, me or any of the other people who can speak English or Spanish, will be there to help you. So our doctor speaks fluent in English. I speak English and Spanish. The doctor also speaks Spanish. He's from Quito.
Yeah.
Um,
I speak
like if
enough
we
Spanish to buy stuff and get a key.
yeah, John can help you haggle. And then we may have one or two bilingual guides in the lodge, depending.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah, I'm very excited to see you all there. And
Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and coming and being excited about it.
yeah,
Sorry, the details are a little bit hazy. Tours always start off like this about a year in advance. We do need to start planning about a year in advance. Also, for like a timeline, we will probably have like everything will be able to be booked and all that stuff within the next couple months, within by about April at the latest. And that's because I need to get all the reservations in, especially with a group that's 10 to 15 people. January tends to be a little bit of a busier season as well. No one likes winter. So
yeah,
I do make sure that we get our reservations in ahead of time and we are blocked in.
yeah. It's gonna be the coolest New Year's ever. So
Yes.
hopefully we'll be saying goodbye to COVID forever. I mean,
Hopefully.
goodbye to COVID lockdowns and stuff. Hopefully by now it's
Mm-hmm.
just endemic and
Yeah, so
mild.
actually Ecuador hasn't had any more lockdowns, which has been really helpful. I've seen the states
Okay.
kind of like be like I,
Yeah.
to me, okay, so I want to have like some feelings about it, but to me it seems like the states is like, oh, everything is fine. You don't need to wear masks. You don't need to do any of this stuff. Everything's fine. Go about your daily business. And then like you get another surge and it's like, okay, lock up, wear K95s, like sit in your house again. And the US seems to do like these highs and
Yeah.
lows. Ecuador, we have never relaxed our mask mandates ever. So
Mhm.
we've all been wearing masks for the past 3 years. It's not a big deal for us. We've been having our temperature taken when we go into public areas. We've had like our shoes sprayed down and our luggage sprayed down for 3 years or 2 years now, whatever it is,
Mhm.
what even is time.
Yeah.
So like Ecuador seems to keep everything pretty like leveled and like standardized, and we don't see these big highs and lows like you're seeing in the States. So
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a few, I can't predict the future or anything, but if anything has been holding up for the past, like it has been um, for the past few years, I don't expect us to close.
Yeah.
We may see a few more regulations. So like for the holidays, we had regulations like some of the normal like festivities that happen, like parades or certain like cultural activities were suspended because of COVID.
Mm.
But like nothing like you shut down, like you had to be in your house or anything like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm very excited to get down there, and uh, yeah, I haven't left Canada since COVID, and
Yeah, I
not even
haven't
from
been
here.
back to
Like
the States
my
either.
family's all in Oregon. My family's, but I've been kind of stuck up here for paperwork reasons and so on. But anyway, the
Oh, there was one more thing that I want to talk about with COVID
mhm.
as well. So included in the prices will be a COVID test. I'm assuming that will still be a requirement if you are visiting us from the United States. The US right now is requiring that you have a negative PCR COVID test before you get on the plane. So that will all be covered as well, the COVID test.
Okay,
Whether
but
you need one
but
or not, I'll probably get one for you.
but they have to pay for theirs to get here.
They have to pay for theirs to
Yeah.
get here. I pay for the one that you need to get back.
Okay. Cool. And we'll arrange that all so that they can.
Yeah.
And
So Ecuador is epic because we actually have people that come to your house and then process your samples within 6 hours.
nice. That's so awesome. Wow.
Yeah. Like PCR, not rapid, like not like the antigen test, like an actual PCR test. They show up at your door, they take your nose swab, and your results are emailed to you within 6 or 7 hours.
That's super cool.
And I will have that all covered on my end.
Cool. So they'll just come to the hotel.
Yeah, they'll just
And
come to the hotel and they'll like read your name off, and it'll all be paid for in advance, and you get your nose
sweet. Oh,
smushed
that's rad. That yeah, because
on your
that's such a
way.
hassle. It's just an extra hassle, you know. Nice.
Yeah, yeah. So that'll happen in the morning. Right now, again, like it's we're going a year from now. I think everyone should just have the mentality that you'll have to be a little bit flexible on something. Right now, the U.S. is requiring that PCR test be done within 24 hours of your flight. It used to be 72, but they've recently changed it. They might change it back. They might get rid of it
Mhm.
altogether. So,
Yeah.
but I'll have the most recent protocols and make sure that they're all followed.
Cool. Well, thanks, Nancy. It was great.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you all so much for being here, whether you're catching it live. Thank you so much, Gail, for the questions. Or if you're watching it on the replay, thank you so much. And I'm so excited to see all of you later here.
Cool.
Bye.
It's ended. All right.